Good late afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Holly Shields and you're watching 𝐊𝐿𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the last show of the day, the last trade. And there's no better way to wind down the day than with today's market close commentary. So let's dive straight in. Well, the Australian share market ended higher in a choppy trade today, snapping two sessions on a losing streak, led by gains in blue chip miner and energy stocks. The market sentiments were lifted by strong corporate earnings and firm global cues, as investors also cheered the US Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell's comment that the central bank won't be in a hurry to raise interest rates. The ASX 200 closed 16.20 points or 0.22% higher during the day's trade. The index gained as much as 0.5% to hit an intraday high. The market breadth, indicating the overall strength of the market, was weak as 7 of 11 sectors ended in the red. The materials sector emerged as the best performer with a 3% gain, followed by energy, which rose 1.1%. Among others, consumer staples and AREIT also ended with modest gains. Meanwhile, consumer discretionary was the worst performer with a 0.9% loss. Among others, utilities, financials, IT, healthcare, industrials and telecoms also settled lower. With that in mind, let's shift our focus now to the top gainers and losers of the day. Among the individual stocks, 𝐕𝐝𝐝, which operates funeral homes, cemeteries and crematoria, topped the gainers list by rising 8.3%. Some of the other top performers were healthcare firm PolyNovo, iron ore miner Fortescue Metals, miner South32 and gold miner Pilbara Minerals. On the flip side though, software firm Altium was the top laggard with a 14% loss. Some of the other worst performers were tech firm Nuix, superannuation business Hub24, healthcare firm Healius and energy company AGL Energy. Moving on now, let's now focus on the shares that hogged the limelight today. Well, shares of Australian tech company Nuix declined as much as 11.2% to hit an intraday low of 2.55 after its earnings failed to meet investors' expectations. The software provider settled the financial year 21 with a statutory loss of $1.6 million compared to $23.6 million profit in the prior year. Revenue rose marginally by 0.1% from $175.9 million, and the firm's EBITDA more than halved to $30.2 million, while annualized contract value dropped 1.7%. Going forward, Nuix intends to invest in SaaS offerings, research and development, while it plans to further accelerate its product development pipeline. And software firm Altium's shares nosedived 13% to $30.21 by lunch despite reporting robust earnings. The company, which recently rejected a takeover bid from US giant Autodesk, reported 246% in growth in profit in the financial year 21 as compared to the same period last year. Revenue rose 6.4%, EBITDA dropped 2.9%, and the tech firm also raised its final dividend to 21 cents, up from 19 cents a year earlier. Now it's time for a short break, but stay tuned because I'll be right back with more trending updates on the stocks that grabbed the spotlight today.
Property by 𝐊𝐿𝐴. Looking for a dream home? Well, that may sound easy, but it isn't. And from looking for a property that is the right fit for you in terms of cost and other factors, to zeroing down on the right mortgage plan, there are various aspects to consider. And for the latest slowdown in the property market, tune in on 𝐊𝐴 TV with me, Sage. I will give the latest updates on the property market as well as real estate stocks to help you make the right decision. Keep watching Property with 𝐊𝐴.
Welcome back. I'm Holly and you're watching The Last Trade. Let's now have a look at some more of the stocks that are in the news today. Well, shares of blue chip miner Fortescue Metals Group rose 6.85% to 21.37 Australian after posting a record annual profit. The Australian iron ore miner has reported its highest ever profit and dividend for the 2021 financial year, driven by higher steel prices, robust performances across the supply chain, and strong consumer demand. The world's fourth largest iron ore miner posted a 117% growth in underlying net profit. The mining giant's revenue surged 74% in financial year 21 compared to the prior year, while underlying EBITDA rose 96%. The company also reported its highest ever annual shipments of 182.2 million tonnes. Boosted by strong earnings, it declared a franked final dividend of $2.11 per share, increasing the total dividends declared in financial year 21 to $3.58 a share. And it looks like all bets are off for some as shares of casino operator Crown Resorts fell 1.3% to 9.2 after it reported disappointing earnings. The company's statutory net loss widened to $261 million in financial year 21 as its gambling and entertainment operations in Melbourne and Perth were badly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. It incurred closure costs of $120.6 million during the year due to restricted operations at Crown Melbourne, Crown Perth, and Crown Asperlanus properties as well. The casino giant's revenue fell a staggering 31.3% to hit $1.54 billion. And shares of Healius need some healing after falling more than 4% despite the Aussie healthcare company reporting robust annual earnings. The healthcare equipment and services provider posted a 179% growth in net profit for the financial year ending June 30. Compared to the last fiscal on strong demand for COVID-19 tests, revenue rose to $1.913 billion compared to the $1.572 a year ago. Healius has also announced to pay a fully franked final dividend of 6.75 cents a share this year, and it declared no final dividend in the financial 2020. And yet another tumble from the diversified financial company MoneyMe, whose shares fell nearly 5% after it announced financial results for 2021. The company's cash profit stood at $12 million this financial year, up by 16% year on year, as its revenue rose 21% as well to $58 million. And lithium producers Diamond Lithium and Sayona Mining have completed the acquisition of North American Lithium. A share purchase agreement has given Piedmont Lithium a 25% and Sayona Mining a 75% ownership in North American Lithium. And shares of Papyrus Australia, the agricultural waste to fibre tech firm, rose 5% following an ASX update. The company had executed a promotional services contract with Sydney-based BPE Investments and Union Pacific Investments. And food manufacturer Freedom Foods has narrowed its net loss to $38.8 million in financial year 2021 from $136.4 million in the prior year. Revenue rose 8%, while adjusted operating EBITDA from continuing operations improved to $22.4 million versus the $54 million loss in the year-ago period. And the share price of Duratec fell over 5% after the national specialist contractor released its earnings report. The company's profit declined 45.2%, while revenue dipped 4.7% as well. And perhaps the internet has come out on top in this pandemic when it comes to dominating the entertainment sphere, as online book delivery business Booktopia Group shares slipped over 6% post an earnings announcement. The loss widened to $18 million in the financial year 2021, while revenue rose 35.1%. Well, now it's time for another short break, but stay with us because I'll be right back with more trending updates on the Australian markets. Tune in to stay updated while on the move.
We will tell you where the crypto craze has reached,
Where the property market is headed next.
what the world is doing to become more environmentally friendly.
Apart from tracking the daily market charter.
Be on top of the latest news and announcements
With 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV. Hello and welcome back. I'm Holly and you're watching The Last Trade. Now in our next segment, a look east towards the Asian market performance. While those markets were trading higher today following firm cues from Wall Street as investors cheered the US Federal Chairman Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole Economic Symposium. Powell said the central bank won't be in a hurry to raise interest rates, but he reiterated that the bank would start tapering economic stimulus later this year. Indonesia's Jakarta Stock Exchange in Singapore was the worst performer in the regional market with a 1.2% gain. It was followed by Thailand's SET Composite, which rose 1%, and in a similar trend, the Straits Times Index in Singapore gained 0.8%. Meanwhile, Japan's Nikkei climbed 0.4% as well, and South Korea's KOSPI gained 0.3%, as Taiwan's weighted index rose as well 0.6%. India's BSE Sensex surged 0.9% in the opening deals. Moving on to the US now, and Wall Street closed on a strong note last Friday after Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank would start tapering economic stimulus later this year. He also downplayed inflation concerns, saying that there was no need for overreaction. The S&P 500 ended 0.88% higher, as the Dow Jones added 0.69% as well. The tech-savvy Nasdaq Composite gained 1.23% as well. And now in the last segment of our show, let's have a quick look at the crypto market performance. The cryptocurrencies were trading mostly lower during the Asian trading today as investors digested the US Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's comment on the tapering of economic stimulus and rate hikes. Bitcoin and Ethereum witnessed correction amidst overbought conditions, and the price of Bitcoin, the world's largest crypto by market cap, slipped nearly 1%. Ether, the world's second largest crypto, also edged a little bit lower. Meanwhile, Cardano, the third largest crypto by market cap, rose nearly 2%. And among others, Dogecoin, Stellar, Uniswap, and Litecoin also edged a bit lower in a subdued trade. In a market boost to the crypto market, Square and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey said that the payment giant's new division focused on creating an open, developed platform in planning to build a decentralized Bitcoin exchange. Meanwhile, London-listed crypto miner company Argo Blockchain has filed for a secondary listing in the US. Founded in 2017, the UK-based company plans to list on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange in the third quarter of this year. Recently, Australian crypto miner Iris Energy also unveiled a similar plan to list its shares on the US Stock Exchange. Bitcoin mining companies are making a beeline to go public to cash in on the chaos in China, as well as to upscale their business. Well, that is all for now in the last trade. Hope you like that market close commentary, to wrap up your Monday. And I'll see you tomorrow on 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV live from Sydney. So stay safe and have a good evening. Holly Shields signing off.